Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Movie Chatter. I'm Eric. I'm here with Lou and Robin, and we are going to discuss the latest Netflix action thriller starring MCU megastar Anthony Mackie, and that is Outside the Wire. But first, how are you guys doing? How are you doing, Lou?
I'm doing great. I am getting ready to start 4 days in a row off from work.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
So,
wow.
I'm excited.
I hate you now. I was all happy to see you, and now I'm like, yeah, go away.
Well,
punk.
I have vacation days used up before the end of March, or I lose them. So it's take them or not, you know. So it's like, well,
that's nice. They let you go through March. Everybody else, it's like the end of December, and it's like, well,
yeah, they let me roll. Well, they let me roll over 1 week, and then since last year, I went so many places on vacation. I had 2 weeks to use up, and I used up 1 week in December. Now I'm using up another week before the end of March.
2020, the year of world travelers.
Yeah.
Robin, how you doing?
I'm good. I can't get rid of my left panel.
Your left panel?
Yeah.
That sounds like a personal problem.
In the Skype. I want it to go away.
Is there, well, I was going to say, is there like a little X in the window or something, but then you could close the whole Skype call. And if you do, we're going to make fun of you ruthlessly until you come back on the call. And then I'd feel bad.
Yeah, I'm just going to deal with it. It's fine.
I don't know. I wouldn't feel that bad. It's Groundhog Day. Did you guys watch Groundhog Day today?
No, I didn't.
No?
I love the movie, though.
I do, too.
I do really enjoy it.
Classic. It's a classic rom-com, Robin.
Oh, yay.
Ned Ryerson? Sorry.
But I sure as heck fire remember you. Oh, what a great movie.
Shadow.
Don't drive angry.
Yeah. I didn't watch it this year. I need to. We might still have time after the recording here. It'll depend on how long it takes to talk about Outside the Wire. And then we've got to pick a movie for next week. So without further ado.
This is our second time watching a movie that we'd never seen before.
I think it was the third, because I think we've been burned twice.
Oh, okay.
Well, third time's the charm, Jen.
Well, I mean, Wonder Woman 84 was kind of...
Yeah,
we would have covered it anyway, probably, but...
Because we had the Uncut Gems debacle.
It's always the ones that we're certain are going to be okay that turn out to be real stinkers. But this is one none of us had seen. And actually, the one that I've got maybe scheduled for next week is another one that none of us have seen. Stay tuned for that. We're going to come back to that. But this one is starring Anthony Mackie, Damson Idris, Enzo Salenti. You know, Nick, you're so good with names, Lou. I should have you like read these.
What's that? You need the room? I'll be right back.
It's kind of a network policy. If there's a difficult name to pronounce, we have Lou do it.
Yeah, we give it to me because I butcher easy names.
Yeah, so. Joe Smith, and he still can't get it. Josh Smythe? No. So
I like just Emily Beecham.
Yeah, Emily Beecham's in it. That's true. Who else? Nobody else I recognize. Michael Kelly? Do I recognize him? Let me see. Let me click on a bigger picture. Yeah, Michael Kelly. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
He's been in quite a bit, actually. Oh, well, it's not time to scroll through his stuff. So Outside the Wire came out just very recently on Netflix. It's a Netflix exclusive. Directed by... Here you go, Lou. I don't know if you have the IMDb page up. I'll let you take this one.
I don't actually.
Because it has two of the little symbols above letters in the last name. One I know is an umlaut, and I don't even know what that other symbol is. It's like a little halo.
Yeah.
It's Michael.
Mikhail Hofstrom? I don't know.
It looks like Michael.
That is so Americanized, Lou. That's so like culturalist.
I know. But yeah, hey, I'm sorry.
I would tell you how it's really pronounced, but now I'm not going to because that's just so disappointed in you.
I understand.
So the person that Lou refers to is Mikhail Hofstrom. I don't know how to pronounce it. He's the director. I don't know. There's not really a lot to say about the stars.
Has he done anything else we'd know of?
Not that I know of.
I'm thinking.
Oh, well, no, wait a minute. Yeah, there's one thing that I'm a big fan of that he's done. And I guess I should have remembered the name, but I didn't. He did 1408.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
I've heard of none of these other. I can't even pronounce some of these other things, again with the little umlauts and the squiggly lines over the letters and stuff. I don't know, but yeah, 1408, which is one of my all-time favorite movies.
What, it was the director or?
It's the director.
Huh.
Wow. Okay.
Interesting.
I need to see Moscow Noir. Moscow Noir.
I feel like we should have known that
that.
because we covered the movie.
Yeah, I know. Well, and
Yeah.
again, like I said,
We
it's one of my top
probably-
10 movies of all time. Maybe even, I don't know if it's top 5, but definitely top 10. So I feel like I should know it.
We probably butchered his name then
Yeah.
too. We should go back and listen.
Now I
to
really
that
do feel
episode.
bad. Now I need to like listen to him in an interview or something to learn how to do it right, just out of respect. But
Sure.
yeah.
Sure.
All right. So in a nutshell, what did you guys think of this movie? How many times did you watch it? I'll admit, I only watched it just the one time. But Robin, how many times did you see it, and what did you think of this movie before we get into any spoilers? Would you recommend it to people? Would you stay away from it? What do you think?
Absolutely, hands down recommended. This is blind watching at its best.
Wow.
I mean,
Kind of a contradiction.
I mean, you know what I mean. Never mind. You know, the third time's
Sight
the charm.
unseen?
Gents. Third time's the charm.
Okay.
Sight unseen. Sure.
Okay. All right. And you watched it how many times?
Oh, just the
once.
once.
Okay. Lou, what about you?
I watched it just the once, and I thought it was a good popcorn movie.
Okay.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I don't think it had a ton of depth to it, but I will say this: it had my second favorite subgenre.
Time
No,
travel?
that's the first favorite subgenre.
No, that's my first favorite. The second favorite
Dystopia?
is well that but that's I don't know AI.
AI.
okay.
Yeah.
AI taking over
Yeah.
things. You know, it's kind of another one of my things.
Okay.
So
Fair enough. So, I got to scroll up on the IMDb here because in one of the ads it has a picture of one of like only 2 or 3 celebrity crushes I have, so I need to not be distracted by that throughout the entire episode. That'd be really bad. I too also only saw it once, and I think maybe I'm a little bit between Lou and Robin on this. I thought it was a good action movie and I enjoyed it. I wasn't enamored with it, but I think it had some depth to it. I just don't know how I feel about the messages that the themes that it had. I do like AI. And so for those of you who don't know what the movie's about, basically you've got the main character, Harp, who is played by
Harp,
Damson Idris, who did a good job. I've never heard of him before. I don't know what else he's been in, but he's, let me click on his name here and see. He did a really good job with it. I would watch.
I thought so. I thought the acting was good throughout.
Yeah, he's been in Black Mirror, Twilight Zone. I mean, he's got a pretty decent list here, just nothing I've heard of. So he plays a drone pilot who is, safely back in the U.S., an Air Force base flying remote drones. He disobeys a direct order during a certain operation, and he gets sent over to the front lines and is assigned under Captain Leo, played by Anthony Mackie. And this is no spoiler because it's in the trailer and it happens very early on in the movie, but Harp discovers that Leo is actually what's basically a cyborg.
So first we should probably back up a little bit and talk about kind of the timeline for the
Good point.
movie, where it is. So it happens in 2047 or something like that. It's out in the future, and they call them Gumps, right? That was their terminology for the automaton.
Yeah, the robotic
soldier
soldiers
in the field.
But
Right.
we're not talking like personality type AI. Like if you look at the different levels of AI, this is very much like
Right.
a step above what they use today for like the bomb disposal robots and stuff. Like it's autonomous in the sense that it can follow orders, but it is strictly a robot, not a personality. But yeah, so those are kind of like super soldiers assigned to squadrons, platoons, divisions, whatever. Yeah.
They get put in harm's way to keep men from being put in harm's way. Right.
Yeah. But they're supposed to be dumb units. You give them an order, they execute the order. That's it.
So it's basically takes place obviously, well, not obviously in Russia. It's a civil war scenario, right, between Russia and Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And so what Harp discovers is that Leo is a way, 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 way super advanced version of these Gumps, like in the way that a quantum computer would be more advanced than an old Commodore 64 computer. Like we're talking, he looks human. He has like a synthetic skin. He can feel pain. He has a personality. There's all of like, he appears to everyone as human. In fact, the only two people who know that he's not are the base commander and Harp, and that's it. So Leo kind of works in the community and the groups there to kind of to get vaccines out to people in order to gather intel to then use. He's almost like not really he's undercover so much as it is he doesn't operate, quote, on the front lines as a soldier as much as he does kind of infiltrating the local communities and stuff like that. So Harp gets wrapped up in a mission with Leo and things don't go as planned, as you would expect, because it's a movie. And if it went as planned, it would be a pretty boring movie. Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know what to think about this movie. Like, it was fun. And there were definitely some interesting themes there about a little bit about AI. But really, I think it was more about in a war, who has the moral high ground? And the good guys in the movie are the Americans, but then it's presented that they're not really good guys. They're just like everybody else. They're in it for themselves in order to get political maneuvering and or resources and things like that. And there's a resistance group, and they may or may not be the good guys. And then there's the Russians, who probably are not the good guys. And there are a lot of questions presented about, you know, the cost of war and, you know, are you really doing the right thing and all that? But I felt like that got a little bit heavy handed, and given the circumstances, there was very much a clear thing to do and not do. And so the idea of kind of muddying those waters a little bit to make me stop and think about things didn't really make me stop and think about anything. So I don't know how I felt about the deeper parts of the movie, but the more superficial parts of the movie I thought were a lot of fun. I thought it was good. It was a concept we haven't really seen before.
Yeah, I thought the fight scenes were fantastic. Yeah. You know, there was some good fight scenes, some good gunfight scenes. I thought the AI or the CG kind of held up for the Gumps. Yeah. I thought they looked pretty good. Especially, I thought those Russian Gumps looked even more, you know, badass than ours did, because they took position up. They went down on all fours almost. It became now a turret instead of a
they had
walking,
like a 50 cal gun on their back.
Soldier. Yeah. I mean, they had some nice concepts in the movie for what they were playing.
The choreography of the combat scenes. We say fight scenes and we think hand-to-hand combat, but even like the gunfighting scenes, I thought was really good, and it gave you a sense of tension and wondering how are they going to get out of this situation and all that. Like the tactical presentation, I thought was really good. And in playing up the abilities of Captain Leo, I thought was good. I mean, his fighting was definitely him being a robotic character instead of a human, because you could throw people around and do kind of superhuman stuff, which is very cool to watch. Robin, what did you think?
I actually really enjoyed it. It did its job. It took me out of my reality, brought me into another. I held my attention the entire time. I wasn't looking at my watch. I feel like, though, the critics have been a little harsh. One of the critics the consensus critics on Rotten Tomatoes called it a, quote, serviceable sci-fi diversion. Oh, I just think that's a little harsh. I mean, I would watch it again if it was on again Saturday afternoon when I had nothing to do and it showed up on TV. Sure. I think that is a little harsh.
It may be a little harsh, but also I kind of think that, I haven't really read any reviews until you just mentioned that one, but that kind of fits my kind of take on this. It was adequate.
Yeah.
It was good.
I feel like it's accurate, if not a little bit harshly presented.
I mean, I feel if this was in the theater, it would flop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it would be 2 weeks and then done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to kind of, we're in a strange.
And there's no real reason why. I mean, it was, like I said, it was perfectly adequate. I mean, it was good. You know, nothing about it screams blockbuster. Nothing about it says, yeah, there's a lot of depth here to it. I want to see more of that.
But if we can go down a rabbit hole for just a moment, I think that's a really good, point to explore a little bit. I agree with you. If I went to see this in the theater, I'd be like, nah. But seeing it on Netflix, I thought it was fine. But then that kind of brings into question, like, what makes a successful theater experience versus feeling like, I could have waited to see it at home. Because, for example, I went to see is it Save Ourselves, whatever it is, which, by the way, is becoming a series now, apparently. I went to see that in the theater. It was an independent movie. Very lighthearted, very, like, just barely adequate production. But it was, I mean, good quality. I'm not ripping on it. I'm saying, you know, not an MCU film. Okay. And I was okay seeing that in the theater. Why with this, which had great production value, would I have felt disappointed seeing this in the theater? And maybe it's because the bar for action movies in the theater have been set a lot higher than going to see a non-action movie in the theater. Like, you go see a comedy in the theater and you can walk out perfectly happy without having explosions and special effects and all that. But something like this, I don't know, Lou, I'm kind of with you.
Well, you know what though? I think that I think it didn't have a recognizable story. I mean, if I set it up against Pacific Rim or Transformers or any other iRobot, right? If I set it up against those, it holds its own.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think the movie might have carried it a little bit more, right, in terms of its audio and the grandeur-ness. Is that a word?
It is now.
Of the production and the video. I don't know. I think that it didn't have other than the main character, Mackie. I think there wasn't enough big names in it.
But here's another thing too. You're right about the big names. Mackie's character wasn't necessarily the main character, at least not the protagonist. The protagonist was Harp.
True.
And Harp wasn't likable for 2/3 of the movie. That's
true.
another
He was
thing.
kind of grumpy.
So you had a hard time relating to someone who's basically an android, who you think you can kind of trust, but he's also a little bit aloof and a little bit standoffish. He's constantly, you know, not tearing apart, but he's constantly on the back of the main character who you don't like. And all their interactions after that are all with bad guys. So it's hard to find a relatable character in there. And then the story itself, there are a lot of points where you get just enough so that you don't feel lost, but you still never really feel like you understand all the players and what's going on in that environment. And to be fair, neither did the protagonist. So, okay.
Well, so I had a problem with part of that storyline in the fact that you have a drone pilot, right, who's operating, you know, his drone out of a base somewhere in the U.S. like they do, and it's just, you know, you go to work, you punch a clock, you fly a computer simulator for a while and go home, and you know, yes, you are in the military, yes, you do go through basic training, but then all of a sudden, you know, we're going to punish you, we're sending you to the front lines.
Yeah, we're punishing you.
I don't really see that. And then he becomes a badass in the field with a gun. I'm like, I don't see that. I don't see that happening. I mean, he, you know, becomes a commando and I'm going to go take on the robot now. And yeah, he's better and faster and smarter than I am, but I'm going to take him on.
So I'm going to say something. The drone pilot, was it ever clarified whether he's Air Force or not? I don't even remember.
I don't know. I think I assumed it was
didn't
Air
take
Force,
a look at it. Okay. So I was Air Force, I'm not a pilot. But unlike this drone pilot, my job actually involved me carrying a firearm every day, either a Beretta M9 or an M16A2 or an M203, which is just an M16 with this little single shot grenade launcher underneath. and I did training deployments and stuff like that. And if I were sent to the front lines and I got in some kind of firefight or had to like actually start hitting somebody, first thing that happened, I'd punch the guy in the face. I'd be like, holy crap, that really hurts. I didn't know it hurts that much to punch someone. In the meantime, I'd be dead. Like we got training and that's great, but we never got you are a solo Navy SEAL operative, single person army who's going to go in and be a badass kind of training. What this guy demonstrated would have been way beyond what the training would have supplied, unless something changed since I've been in, to a single individual to be able to handle in an on-the-ground combat environment like that. That's point number one.
Right.
Point number two, things like MOUTs or military operations in urban terrain is very different from like being out in the woods or being out in fields or whatever. And I think we had like 2 or 3 days training of that. And of course, being the military, it was a lot of hurry up and wait. Okay, everybody hurry up, go stand over there. And then 3 hours later, we run through an exercise. And then we go stand over there. And then 2 hours later, the trainers finally show up for that. And it was pushing believability a little bit that someone who's a drone pilot, all due respect to both, in-person pilots and drone pilots, but a totally different environment, a totally different world of tactical competency and training. I had a hard time believing that. But I do appreciate the fact that it did show a lot of points where he was clearly in over his head.
Oh, yeah, and I get that.
And that was good.
By the end of the movie, he's charging in to save the day.
Right.
I'm like, I don't get that. I don't see that.
Yeah, I'm with you there, too. I mean, it's a movie.
But you're right. I also didn't get the whole feel for who the players were, what was going on. It seemed kind of, I mean, the one thing that was kind of good was we had one direction for the movie, and it kind of took a turn at the end, which was good. I enjoyed that. I enjoy a pivot in the movie where you get something you weren't expecting, but it still wasn't as satisfying as it could have been.
True, but I will give them credit for the fact that the pivot worked. It was consistent with the story. It didn't break anything that happened earlier.
Sure.
Like it didn't cheat. And I appreciate that. And it was clever. It was not entirely predictable. The trailer teased it a little bit. And that bugged me because I went in thinking, okay, there's at least a 20% chance that this is going to happen. And then that's exactly what happened. So it got me thinking about that possibility throughout the whole movie, thanks to the trailer. But that's not the movie's fault.
No.
So.
Yeah, I didn't see the trailer, so that was a pleasant surprise for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wished it was deeper. I wish there was more, I don't know, reflection on what it means to have that kind of a soldier in the field. And he hinted at that when he was laying on his deathbed there, against the missile silo that, look, I am going to be, things like me are the reason why war is going to go on.
Yeah.
Right.
And how do we stop this and break this cycle? Although I'll say one more thing too. Now he was, cutting edge technology kind of prototype. There wasn't, like 100,000 of them in the field. He was like a one of a kind. And I know that, from electronics, if I have something that I drop on the floor, it's probably not going to work again. He was just blasted to hell, and he was still functioning and talking. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I just kind of thought it was a little ironic. I'm like, yeah, no, you wouldn't be talking. My what? It's not working. Can it turn on that? Can I reboot it? No, damn it.
Also, you would never build just one of anything that would have cost $60 billion. Right? You would have had at least 20 or 30 of them. Otherwise, all your research and development costs are sunk.
Sure.
But I mean, we're getting a little more, we're trying to insert more realism into the movie than we probably should. But to get back to your point, though, I do think that there was a good opportunity to look at the question of, I feel like the question of having robotic or remote soldiers in a war is a more relevant ethical discussion right now than just revisiting the whole, is war good or bad kind of thing. And I felt like it really got into, well, you think you're the good guys, but you're not really the good guys. Everybody who's participating in this is bad. And I'm not saying that that's inaccurate, not even commenting one way or the other on that. I'm just saying that that is something we've seen presented so many times that they had an opportunity to do something a little bit different this time around. And they did with the storytelling, but I don't feel like they did with the theme. And I really think that this would have been a better opportunity to get into the ethics of, you know, waging war and combat using drones and robots and stuff like that, and the morality of that. And like you said, Lou, what is brought up finally near the end of the movie about the fact that I'm one of the reasons this is always going to continue. And, you know, there's money involved and politics involved and corporations involved that benefit from war. There's a whole element there that really could have been looked at. And instead we looked at, you think you're the good guy, but you're not. But, and I don't even really think they explored that in a really meaningful way, because that didn't really come around until the very end. And then they jumped right into the action aspect of it to wrap up the final battle.
Right. I mean, you know, the concept of machines fighting machines and extending that war beyond what we're capable of fighting, I think is a very interesting topic to dive into. And I don't mean interesting. It's a bad topic, but it's, you know, it's could this really happen? And I mean, this is a movie that's more mainstream. More people will probably view it than there was an episode of, I think it was Star Trek Voyager, where they had come across a race of robots or androids that had were at war with another race of androids that were basically different color versions of themselves. And what happened was the two races that created them were killed off by their creations, and then these robots are fighting themselves for generations beyond that. Yep. It's like, you know, is that what's going to happen? And it's a very, you know, good topic to dive into ethically. I mean, what is the future of war, and do we need to continue fighting it that way? And how, you know, what are the ramifications of this, let alone the whole AI thing taking over, which I think is an interesting concept in itself.
And I think that really you have a drone pilot who made a decision. That decision was based on, to at least some extent, being removed from the visceral effect of being right there in the front lines, then inserted to the front lines. So this very question about the removal of the humanistic investment in combat and what kind of effect that has, that seemed like the perfect theme for this movie from the very beginning. The nature of the main character is that he's experiencing this for the first time. And instead of really going down that route, they hit on it in a couple of pieces. They're kind of like, they turn back to the main character and they're like, see, this is what, you know, sitting back in your rocking chair back home gets you. And the character just kind of looks like, and then they walk on to the next scene. There's no exploration of it. There's presentation of it, but there's no exploration. So to me, it felt like it brought up a lot of interesting things. The presentation of those things was pretty good, but there were a lot of missed opportunities to actually provide any sort of commentary or any sort of explanation, or not explanation, because I don't want explanation. I want exploration. I want to see both sides of the arguments. I want to see there be, you know, well, there's this point. Well, yeah, but there's this counterpoint. Well, there's this other counterpoint. I want to see that worked out. I don't want to get preached to. But I think that diving into that theme a little bit would have made this a better movie. I don't know, Robin, you've been a little quiet on the thematic thing here. What are your thoughts regarding, like, do you think that they got things across well enough? Because maybe they did. I don't know.
Honestly, for me, they did. For me, it stayed where it needed to stay. It allowed me to draw my own conclusions about it. I mean, I heard what lost his name.
Anthony Mackie.
Mackie's,
okay. Leo, Captain Leo.
Character. Leo. I heard what Leo said at the end, and I went, you know, he's got a point. And then I think anything else would have been a sort of akin to beating me over the head with it. So that piece of it, I kind of liked. I like movies that leave me to draw my own conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
What I think would have helped it would have been spending a little bit more time drawing me into the characters.
Yeah.
The Resistance didn't draw me in very well. It was sort of an aside that, I mean, they needed it to move from one place to another, and then they just kind of said, "Ooh, there's the Resistance."
Right.
You know, and we're supposed to know what that is and what that's all about. Again, not the focal point of the story, but I didn't cry, or care that Leo, went off into wherever it is that AI goes. And I don't think that I don't think that Harp did either. So there was a little bit of a relationship starting there, so they just sort of skirted. So maybe they could have given me a little bit more exploration of character rather than exploration of the big ideas presented.
I would agree with that. I think Harp got more likable as it went on, but I feel like if we could have seen a little bit more about what was going on in his head that got him to change, it would have been better. And then, like I said, none of the other characters were very easy to relate to. Even Sophia, the leader of the Resistance,
right.
I mean, she got introduced, at like the 50% mark? You didn't even see her for the first half of the film. And then really she only had the big introduction scene. And then there was another scene later on where she was around for a little bit. I think one more brief scene. Like it was fleeting. It wasn't, it was really hard to relate to the characters in this movie. And I feel like that makes it hard to really care about the movie itself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So what do you guys think? Any other points we want to get to before we kind of wrap up and give a final review? I do want to touch a little bit about, we talked about, the good production, the good fight choreography and stuff like that. Robin, what do you think about the directing in this movie?
See, again, I thought it was really well done. There were no, I get it. You guys are talking about the reality of the military complex versus what was presented in the movie. That I can leave aside because, again, what was presented in the movie was in 2036 we're going to have Uber AI. I kind of believe that. I mean, we are moving more and more towards the believability of that. And so, so the directing piece, everything held together.
I would agree.
The writing, again, in terms of depth of character, needed some work, but I think he did a really good job with what he was given.
I would agree. I thought the directing itself was really good. And I think that may have saved the movie for me. I would still recommend this movie. I think it was a good movie. I see a lot of missed opportunities, but none of those from the director. And none of it from the actors, really. I think it was just the writing. It tried to maybe cram too many ideas into a movie that it didn't have enough room for all of that, plus the action scenes too, in my opinion. But as far as the directing goes, I thought the directing was great. And now that I realize the guy also did 1408, that doesn't surprise me.
Now you're going to see every movie he ever did.
I can't even pronounce every movie he ever did. I can't even pronounce half the movies he's done. So probably not. But I'm definitely going to remember the name this time around. And the next time I see him do something, I'm going to check it out.
Check it out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good director.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go around the table here and throw in some final thoughts. I will say that I would definitely recommend people see this, especially since if you have Netflix, it's free. And there's not a lot else coming out right now. So back to that whole thing about setting the bar of what makes a good theater experience. I mean, right now, I'm just happy to have anything new come out, right? So, and to be fair, that is not why I like this movie. It's not just that the bar's been set so low. This legitimately is a good movie. And despite analyzing it a little bit and seeing where some things could have been a little bit better, I think we all agree that it was a good film. I would definitely recommend it. I think it's worth going out of your way to see. And I don't know. I can't really think of anything else to add to it. But again, the production was great. The acting was great. The direction was great. The writing was good enough. You know, it didn't. There were no major plot holes. Everything made sense. It had a pretty good twist. And even if you kind of figure out what the twist is, the journey of the twist is still good enough to watch. Yeah, I'd recommend it. Lou, what about you?
Yeah, I think I fall in the same boat you do. I mean, I enjoyed the movie. It was good. It was a good popcorn flick. I think if you compare it against other streaming stuff that's come out, that's like, you know, only on streaming services, not in the theaters. I mean, I'll put it up against what I think is probably one of the better ones out there is 6 Underground, right? So that was, a fantastic movie that is direct to streaming. Along the same category, this being an action movie that doesn't really have a big budget for, blockbuster type movies. I mean, it's not as good as that, but it's definitely a good movie to watch. It's free on Netflix. If you have it, I mean, no reason not to watch it, right?
All right, Robin?
Yeah. Yep, ditto all that. And I would go out of your way to watch it, add it to your watch list, and give us a shout about what you thought.
All right.
And no love story. Look at that.
No love story. No love in this movie, let me tell you. All right. Well, we do have to pick something out for next time around, and
no, Valentine's Day is coming up. Should we do a rom-com?
I think, Lou, that could be a really good suggestion.
I had to, I'm sorry. I had to say that.
It's
cruel.
I have an idea. Greatest Showman.
Right.
We did that already.
Yeah.
But it might needs to be.
Did we not make that recording traumatic enough for you, Robin, that you, because if you want to do it again, I mean, I think you'll regret it.
I don't have to see it again. We can just do it again.
Yeah, we don't have to watch it again. We can just spend another hour and a half complaining about it if you'd like.
No.
I think that could work.
You got to watch it again.
No.
I'm only kidding. We
That's
don't need
silly.
to do a Valentine movie.
We paid attention close enough the first time. All right. So I have two suggestions. I was going to see if you guys had any suggestions first, though, other than, I mean, now I know the answer to that from Robin.
Louis, got any suggestions?
No, I actually don't, to tell you the truth.
All right. So here are my two suggestions. So one, I saw a trailer for a movie that was just released both in theaters and on HBO Max, and it's called The Little Things. It's starring Denzel Washington, Rami Malek from Mr. Robot, and from that Queen biopic, and Jared Leto. The description, I'll read it from HBO Max here. They, quote, star in a psychological thriller from director John Lee Hancock following two cops, one haunted by echoes of the past, investigating a series of murders in Los Angeles. It is streaming through February 28th. So what HBO Max is doing, much like they did with Wonder Woman, is they're releasing it in the theaters and also on HBO Max, but only for about a month. Only for 4 weeks. So then it leaves HBO Max until it does the cycle all the way around back to when it would normally show up on cable or streaming or whatever. So if we're going to cover it, we'd want to cover it soon. The other recommendation was going to be what Lou just mentioned, which was 6 Underground on Netflix. Or we could do both. But I'm thinking Little Things. I've seen a couple of good reviews on it. Now, this is back to watching something the three of us haven't seen, but it's new. It's got 3 A-list actors. I think, did they all win Academy Awards? I know Denzel Washington has. I know Rami Malek has. I don't know about Jared Leto. Anyway, A-list actors. Trailer looked pretty good. And if we're going to cover it, we should cover it soon. What do you guys think?
I'm up for that.
Robin?
I'd like to see that. I also want to put forth an idea too when we're ready.
Is it a musical?
No. But hubby and I just saw it. Rebecca.
Okay.
2020 British romantic thriller.
So romantic thrillers are okay, but just not romantic comedies.
That's good to know. That's an important distinction that we need to keep track of when we're dealing with Robin here. Rebecca, like the common REBECCA?
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm getting a bunch of actresses. Here we go. Oh, wow. It's got it's got my future ex-wife in it. So
Lily
yes.
James. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I saw a trailer
well
for
done.
this. This looked interesting. Okay, and you're saying it was good?
Well, I won't tell you, but I'm putting it out there for us to see.
Okay, so either it was really good or she hated it and really wants to rant about it.
I don't think she did shoot it to us now. She wants to watch something she likes.
Yeah.
We're the ones that are gluttons for punishment. We like to,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
I'd be
Yeah, we
There's
still
an
have to
idea.
watch Kung Pao Enter the Fist, Lou. You owe me that for like the last 2 birthdays and at least 1 Christmas.
I may have to run. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh. We'll discuss it later.
I
One
will
of the
watch
cats
Kung
needs
Pao
it.
Into the Fist.
No. We're going to do a watch together of it, Lou.
Oh,
Yes.
God. I can't just fake
no,
it then.
No, I need evidence.
I can't read the cliff notes.
And you will need encouragement.
In the form of a beer?
Probably.
Liquid encouragement?
Tim will be there too, so don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe even Robin.
Misery loves company.
Exactly.
How did I get? Am I like no longer?
You would really
on the
let
show?
your husband suffer through that alone? You're not willing to be there for him in his moment of need? Robin, I know you are a better wife than that. I know you love Tim more than that.
How is Tim a co-host on the show if we're covering Kung Pao, whatever?
No, he's not a co-host on the
he said
show.
we
It's
were
just
gonna
he has to
cover it.
also watch it in the watch together,
He
and
just wants to
therefore
torture me.
you need to be there for Tim.
You just want to torture
Tim
my husband.
needs you,
Okay,
Robin.
I'm down for
Okay,
that.
see how easy that was?
Easy.
Okay, so here's the thing. We've got 6 Underground, Rebecca, and the Little Things. Little Things is only going to be around for another 3.5 weeks. So I would recommend, if not doing that one first, then doing it second of the 3, and then we pick one of the others for 1 and 3.
Oh, we
So-
can watch it next. Didn't we do 6 Underground already?
No, we've been
'Cause I know
talking
I've
about it
seen
for
it.
about 6 months, but we
Okay.
haven't actually.
I know we saw it.
Yeah, it came out back in, I want to say September,
Maybe, yeah, something like that.
July. Like, it's been out for a while, and we all did see it, but we've never covered it on the show.
Oh, okay.
I know that because it's on, like, I have a little, in the show notes, I have a list of things that we're going to get to eventually, and it's consistently in like the top 1 or 2 spots, and it just never gets covered.
And I did put together a Google Docs with everything we've covered.
Okay, good.
Really?
Yeah, and I need to go back to that because we should set up another page where we've got a queue of things that we want to cover.
Yeah.
Because I have
Yeah.
that somewhere else, and we should all get on the same
Because
page.
I've had the same
literally.
thing. I'm like, didn't we do this? No. Wait. So I went through and
And that's
pulled them all
good
out.
because we did have to cancel a recording once because we already reviewed the show we were doing. That was fun.
We did, yes. That was
Okay, so
embarrassing.
Lou, why don't you pick what we do next out of those 3?
Since it's fresh on streaming, let's do the little
Robin,
things.
are you okay with
And
that?
we'll do one
Yeah,
after.
absolutely.
Okay, and then after that, we will choose between Rebecca and 6 Underground. Unless there is some other major big release that pops up all of a sudden in that time period. But otherwise, we will keep those 2 on deck. All right?
Perfect.
Brilliant.
That's going to do it for this episode of Movie Chatter. Thank you for hanging out with us. And if you'd like to watch this live with us, we normally do these on alternating Tuesday and Thursday nights. That schedule may be changing pretty soon. But for now, that's the idea. We will be back, I believe, next Tuesday, or is it? No, it'll be next Thursday. Next Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can go to randomchatter.com/YouTube. We also record Random Chatter and our Star Wars shows, which have now been rebranded to Force Chatter, every Sunday night starting at about 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. And we are also going to be bringing back Trailer Breakdown. The Outer Rim is part of Force Chatter, but we're going to start bringing back those discussion episodes as well. So we have a lot of stuff coming for you on YouTube. We also have all of our audio podcasts over at randomchatter.com. Let's see, what other announcements do we have? MCU TV has been going really strong with all the WandaVision stuff recently. Our Patreon donors actually get to listen to the Watch Togethers that the MCU TV hosts do as part of the bonus content. If you're a $5 donor or higher, then you get access to those every week. So if you're already donating and you haven't been checking those out, hit us up at randomchatter.com/Patreon because you're already a donor and grab those episodes. They're great. In fact, you can get those as a podcast. There's a link there in your Patreon account on that page. If you have any problems with it, contact us and we'll walk you through it. But it's really easy to just take that link that's unique to you and add it into any sort of podcast app. If you're not donating, we're not going to put any of that content out there so you can't get it as far as our audio or video podcasts, but we do give bonuses involving our different Patreon donors. We're a nonprofit organization that actually makes you a member of Random Chatter if you donate, even $1 a month. So if you'd like more information on that, go to randomchatter.com/Patreon. Don't forget to go to randomchatter.com/Discord to join our Discord server to talk about this movie, other movies you'd like to watch us or have us watch, and I don't know, give our opinions on or recommend to other people or not recommend if it's The Greatest Showman again. But there is a Movie Chatter channel right there in Discord, so hop in there and tell us what you think on different things. And that's going to do it. We will see you next week. Until then,